Hey folks, welcome back to DCS. So, I recently uploaded my Pimax Crystal Light review, and on the whole, I think I was positive, but there were some scathing elements, and I do have to admit that the setup being as difficult as it was, and especially me having issues with the IPD, even now, after like a year of tweaking, I cannot get the Pimax Crystal Light to be crisp at distance. Like, there's always a little bit of an overlap of the images that makes it look kind of crappy. That's not to say that it's not playable. It's not to say that I can't spot targets visually by eye using the headset, but it just never quite felt right. So I just unboxed the Super, I plugged it in. I initially attempted to run it with the same settings that I had for the Crystal Light, which is like max native resolution, and the native resolution of the Super, I actually don't know what it is, but I know that the pixels that it generates, it's like 29 million pixels, which is insane. It's about 16.5 million for the Crystal Light, so it's almost twice as crisp. I literally couldn't. I was getting like 0 FPS. I think 9 was the highest that I saw. The game looked so. I actually can't even describe how good it looked. And that's with the settings all toned down to work with VR in general. If you've ever seen a film in IMAX, imagine that being all around you in every direction, and that's what this headset was like, maxed out. Genuinely, as much as I might have poo-pooed the Crystal Light, buy this. If you have a 5090, buy this headset because it is fucking amazing. So all I've done, I'm just giddy at how good this is, honestly. I've been putting it off because I thought that the setup would be a faff and I didn't want to go through it, and I've basically wasted the day off that I had playing in Track AR. Literally all I did was plug this in, I tested it to see the max res and realised that my computer couldn't handle it. So I turned it down to 50%, right? I dialed it so far down, I think that works out at like 25 pixels per degree. And even at 50%, because of the eye tracking, it looks better than the Crystal Light did at half of the Super's native resolution, which is probably about maybe 70%, 80% of the Crystal Light's resolution. But you know what? When there's no overlap of images and you can see crisp, like that mountain you can see in the distance on the runway. I do need to download the mod that gets rid of the text in the way, but I can see everything so well, and it isn't beautifully crisp because I've had to tone the graphics, the headset resolution down to 50%, but it's perfectly playable. I just plugged it in, used the settings from the light, turned the headset down to 50%. I don't think I actually need to turn it down that much, by the way, but then I locked my FPS to 45, and I'm quite happy to just play with it like this forever because it looks good enough to be workable. It's very smooth. I can ID targets visually. It looks amazing. It feels amazing. I'm actually starting to wonder whether I might have got a dud Crystal Light headset, because I actually get it now. All the people saying, wow, you won't go back from VR. I actually might not. This is exactly how I thought VR would be when I first got the Crystal Light. I'm going to work on tweaking it because I'm sure it can be better than this, but it doesn't even need to be because it's perfectly fine how it is. Very short one, just a quick run through. I want to try and get this done before I have to leave to go to work. But yeah, buy it. Holy fuck, buy it. That's it. Thanks. Okay folks, so unfortunately I didn't manage to sort the video out before I had to go to work, so this is me now like a week later. I've just spent probably a couple of hours really fine-tuning the headset, and I actually have managed to get my 45 FPS locked with it looking basically how it looked at native resolution with its 29 million pixel setup. It is absolutely breathtaking. I actually get it now. I think I am actually a VR convert. I have just one niggling problem, which is this. It's the fact that if I make the headset look fantastic to me, it makes the screen mirror, which is what I record so that you guys can see the footage, it makes that look atrociously bad. So I've got some footage here flying the MiG-19 and you'll immediately see what I'm talking about. So like when I'm actually sat in the cockpit looking through the headset, I can see everything so well. I can track individual rounds to target. I can literally read the ammo counter on the MiG-19, which is like on the floor between your legs behind the joystick, and even in Track AR on a 2K monitor I usually have to zoom in substantially to read that, and I can see it perfectly. in this headset, but as you see, when I make the headset look that good, to me it makes the recording look absolutely abysmal. So I'm caught between a bit of a rock and a hard place, because it's impossible for me to showcase how good this thing is, because when I make it as good as it can be, it looks abysmally awful on YouTube. So what I've done, and I've recorded a little video through the eyepiece with my phone. I've made it as an unlisted short video. It's only about 10 seconds long, but I'm going to post that in the video description so you can have a look at it. Don't mind the flickering, that's just like an artifact of the camera. It's literally crisper than my 2K monitor. I reckon it's probably crisper than a 4K monitor. I am so impressed with this headset, and if you've seen my review for the Crystal Light, then you'll know exactly how high praise that is, because I really wasn't impressed with the light at all. Anyway, all that said, let's actually get back to that F15 sortie, because this was the first time I hopped online with the Super, and actually the sortie went remarkably well, so we'll pick back up where we left off. Alright, so I have since this actually installed a mod that shrinks the size of the text, because there are times like now where the pop-up kind of covers part of what I need to be able to see, which is a bit rubbish. It's much smaller now and that isn't an issue. The mod is pretty easy to find if you just Google it, but if someone reminds me, then I'll stick a link to the GitHub download in the video description as well. We are in the thick of it here. We've got 4 contacts within 30 miles, and this is the Contention 90 server on Syria, so we are carrying Amron Bravos, and I'm just sort of swirling around using vertical scan. Somewhere off my nose there's an F-16, and he is obviously 10 miles for an AMRAAM. It's quite a dangerous range, so I'm trying to use the terrain a little bit just to try and save myself from being caught. When you're head-to-head at such short range, at such high speed, you could end up passing each other without realising it, so rather than just rolling around like a maniac and trying to find him with vertical scan, I've opted to go for the sneaky approach and just try and get low and not be seen by him. But then it turns out that he actually ends up turning cold, and I do actually find him whilst he's running away. So he is 5 miles away at the moment, and I'm just going to run him down, and obviously he's going to panic a little bit if I lock him up. I'm hoping that will get him to manoeuvre, and if he does start to turn into me, I'm just going to immediately lob a missile in his face. So there we go, Fox 3. He's kind of turned back cold again, but we're still within the nosegap for the missile. So any second now, that's going to be kill number 1. So these stutters and these freezes that you see in the recording, they actually weren't happening in the headset. I'm not really sure how the screen mirror works in relation to, like, you know, the CPU load and the graphics card load on my computer. It's a mystery to me completely, but all I'm saying is that what you're seeing, these stutters, they weren't present at the time in the headset. And obviously if you guys buy this headset, most of you aren't going to be trying to post the video to YouTube. So all of these issues that I'm having with getting it workable as like a content generation on that side of the whole equation, it won't matter to you. So the pristine visuals, there's no downside. I actually thought he might have been dead and just that was his corpse falling out of the sky, but he is actually still alive and kicking. So here, I'm actually able, you know, I briefly lost the lock of him there. I was actually able to track his rendered spec visually in the VR headset, even despite the trees as the backdrop. Vertical scan did end up finding him again straight away, but I actually wasn't concerned because I could just see him, and I was just following him. So here he begins to turn hot. We're very, very close. I'm just going to fire off another one. So we splash him, and that's kill number 2. So our next nearest contact is a Jeff, bearing 121 at 10 miles. 10 miles is close enough for a vertical scan lock, so I'm just sort of flailing around. I think he's at a ridiculously high altitude, and we managed to find him. So we fire off another missile at him. These stutters are so bad on the recording. They're causing a lot of desync issues as well, so every time one happens I'm having to like rejig the footage so that the sound lines up. We actually accidentally locked some of his ordnance with that missile that we fired rather than his actual aircraft. But he is within 6 miles, we're at very high altitude, we're pushing Mach 1, so that missile should chase him down, no problem, even though it's in a tail chase. There he goes, that's kill number 3. So yeah, then unfortunately, slapped by, I'm not actually sure what it was. It could have been a helo, could have been a MANPAD. But the FC3 F-15 is quite famous for being able to tank IR missiles, like even pretty powerful IR missiles. And it always takes similar damage, so the nose cone will fall off and you'll lose your electrics. But plane is otherwise fine. So this F-16 is within 13 miles, and I actually do have a look over my shoulder for him in a second. Thankfully he isn't chasing me down, and I'm not sure why, because when I checked the map I was still visible on it, which means that I'm not classed as dead. Thankfully, otherwise I probably would have struggled to find the runway. But I contemplate going for this Viper, just purely because of how impressed I am that I can actually see him physically with the headset. Like, I think I would have struggled to see him with track IR. It takes me a few seconds to acquire him, so I don't know if it'll come through on the recording, but I'll try and highlight him if I can find him on the footage. Honestly guys, this VR headset is unreal. The visuals are insanely crisp. I'm actually really surprised that my computer can run it so well, given how much trouble I had with the crystal light. I think the biggest feature for me is the IPD auto adjustment, because I had so much issue trying to get the alignment right on the crystal light, and I think that to this day that's why I never fully enjoyed it, because I could never really get the images to perfectly align. Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to the landing, because bearing in mind I have no HUD, I'm having to read the analog dials to figure out my speed and everything, and we actually managed to do like maybe the cleanest landing I've ever had in the F-15, and without any kind of resistance whatsoever. So we are a little bit hot on the way in, but I've got the flaps down, the brakes out, gears coming down right now. I can't quite tell if I'm splicing slightly to the left or not, but I think it might just be the fact that obviously I've only seen one eye, but there's touchdown. Smoothest touchdown ever. I apologise for all this background audio from Bitchy Betty, by the way. Very annoying. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, folks. Be sure to check out the links for the Pimax store. I know it sounds like I'm being a massive shill, but honestly, go and watch my Crystal Light review, and you'll see what I mean, because I was not ready to be a VR convert at all. I basically had zero interest in it, and I only accepted the review kit to see for myself if I was right about all of my misgivings that I had for it. And I kind of was, but when it works, it's actually so impressive that it genuinely does overcome them all. That's it for today, folks. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Check out the Discord link and the membership link in the video description. Check out the Air Models store, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.